This week, we will look at the organization of plans and reports. Plans are, of course, about the future, and reports are about the past. A proposal combines the two by looking at data from the past and present and proposing or suggesting a plan of action to address a problem, grow the business, or make beneficial changes in some way. Most poorly conceived business reports and plans suffer from one or both of these deficiencies. They're written solely from the author's point of view and forget the readers, and or they are rambling and unstructured. Let's think about the reader. If, for example, you're writing a portion of your company's annual report, who's the audience? I remember being part of a team to write an annual report for the Continuing Education Division of UC Irvine, and no matter how I argued against it, I couldn't get the others to stop using internal jargon and abbreviations of departments that made no sense whatsoever to the world at large, let alone students. If your reader is the head of finance, you can be pretty sure she or he likes tables with data. And if your reader is your company's CEO, she or he will not need to be reminded about how great the company is. Just cut to the chase. Which data do you select for a report and how do you display them? It's hard to make rules for all kinds of reports and plans, but data tend to fall into three categories. Trend data, change over time, cost-benefit data, expenses and revenue, and share data, such as market shares, percentage growth or decline, or comparison data. Choose only a few for your report. 2 to 3 tables or graphs should be enough to tell your story. If you feel someone might want more or more detail, put those in an appendix. Then someone can open if she wants to do so, or leave it alone. Except to financial wizards, numbers are just numbers. Without a human context, they fade into a blur. Humans find a narrative compelling, a good story. One thing we like to talk about is money. The U.S. annual federal budget for 2016 is almost $6 trillion. What on earth is that? If you just showed me a list of numbers for the federal budget, my eyes would glaze over. But if you showed me a chart of federal spending as percentage of gross domestic product, that tells us a totally different story. And if you gave me a few more years as comparison points, I would be able to see the huge jump due to post-9/11 defense spending as well as the stimulus unleashed to get us out of the 2008 depression. Trend data tell a story. There's a funny story usually told in statistics classes, that when ice cream sales increase, so does crime. So, eating ice cream makes you want to rob banks, right? Not so fast. Let's examine the data a bit. Could there be something else, often called an intervening variable, that might be responsible for both of these increases? Well, yes. It might be temperature. When it's warmer in summertime, more people are out of their houses, leaving them open to burglars. That might be an answer. But of course, it could be innumerable other things as well. Try not to jump to a cause and effect conclusion right away. It might be a fallacy. In the assignment for this week, I ask you to write a business proposal to solve a problem. First, you need to convince your reader that there is a problem and that you have a reasonable proposal to solve this problem. In the assignment, I ask you to organize your proposal into these sections. The purpose. You need to convince your reader that there is a problem. You may be able to do this with a few sentences and perhaps a graph or two. Summary. This is your proposal of actions that you believe will help alleviate the problem. Findings. In this section of your proposal, you list your data as briefly as possible and your analysis of the data to tell your story. Conclusions. Your conclusion is brief and probably just one sentence to summarize the problem. Recommendations. This is the action you propose to address the problem. And finally, cost-benefit, the cost of your proposed actions and the projected benefits to your company. If your proposal involves the company spending money, you will need to attempt to show how spending money will either decrease expenses or increase revenue. It's hard to predict, especially about the future. Forecasting is notoriously unpredictable. In the 1991 comedy LA Story, Steve Martin was a weatherman who wanted to go away for a weekend. Since he was a weather forecaster in Los Angeles, where there's basically very little change from one day to the next, he took a chance and recorded the forecast for the weekend several days in advance. For each day, he told his viewers that the weather would be sunny and warm. You can imagine what happened as those forecasts went on the air and a huge rainstorm moved in over the LA basin. So while some of you may be experts in financial planning, many of us are not. For that reason, one of the 2 videos I've included in this lesson is a 10-minute explanation of how to build a basic financial projection. This is not a course in finance, so of course there will be no test on this video, but it's in your best interest to know something of financial planning, no matter what kind of job you want in the future. Yet another kind of report is the report on a project. Even if your title isn't project manager, you will probably have to write such reports now and then throughout your career. One of the best and simplest descriptions of a project status report is from UC Berkeley, and I have copied it below this lecture. It contains the following sections: general information, project status dashboard, budget and schedule status, accomplishments, differences from planning, key issues, risks, opportunities, milestone dates, and status of key project areas. Take a look at the Berkeley description of such a report. When you have done it a few times, it isn't difficult to write. However, I would be very surprised if a report came through which showed the dashboard in red without any prior notification. Since I am a true blue academic and since I love the language of Shakespeare and Milton, it pains me to admit that this is not the language of business. We have taught you over and over to write connected, flowing language in essays and term papers. Not so in your business report. In fact, in business, bullet points rule. Short documents where bullet point statements are illustrated with clear charts and graphs, that's what they want. Do I hear you express a sigh of relief? Actually, writing something brief is much harder. It's much harder than rattling on a topic. A famous quote from the American writer Mark Twain, a pen name for Samuel Clemens, is, "I didn't have time to write a short letter, so I wrote a long one instead." Thanks for listening and for taking notes. Keep in mind that you can go back to these lecture videos anytime in the course. I also encourage you to stop the video frequently to look up words or follow an idea that I might have given you. Now go on to look at the other videos and links in this lesson and start thinking about your comments to the discussion board.